want to say thank you to Lauren for coordinating this and getting me here. You've got the recording going, Lauren. So, we're also coming back to do. Are we doing another one for you or no? No, this
Yes,
is
I
it,
believe
right?
it's 15th at 10. We're doing an encore of listing.
Aha, yes, I don't have that on my count, but that's on the 15th
10 a.m. Yes, sir.
of what, June?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're doing an encore of Why List with Me because we didn't record it, but you're not going to get away
Yes.
with that this time, Lauren. I see that we're recording it. So, well, listen, welcome everybody. I'm really honored to have you here. This is my fourth Zoominar for KW Elite, and this is a special opportunity for me to reach out to you. You know, I've been in the real estate business over 30 years. I began in upstate New York, was a training director for Century 21, became a regional director for them. I'll tell you about that story in a little bit. And then became a divisional president for them down in Austin or in Dallas, Texas. And I watched this little company growing in Austin. And I said to myself, because I'm a real student of the game, if I were going to reinvent a real estate company, it would not be like Century 21, big corporate brand name. It would be like what Gary Keller's building down in Austin. It would be a agent focused, agent training focused company built on the value of getting more money to the agents, making agents more productive, letting them build their big businesses to the highest possible level, and letting them be the brand, even though they're going to use Keller Williams signs. It's their name that's the reputation and the brand. And of course, look what's happened, right? I mean, I got a chance 4 years later to join Gary and Mo. We built Keller Williams University. We had about 2,000 agents, and now we have 182,000 agents. We're number one in the world. So it's an amazing thing. And what I want to talk about with you today really has to do with how you make big things happen, right? And I'm looking right now. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that looks like right. So the key is, how do you create something bigger than exists today? When I was there, you know, as a district manager in Syracuse, New York, making 18,000 a year, I was 40 years old. I wanted to become the regional director, making $150,000 or more. And I wrote it down as a goal. I went to a goal setting seminar. I wrote it down as a goal. And 3 years later, I was that regional director. And 3 years after that, I became a divisional president for Century 21, one of 6 in the country out of Dallas, Texas. And then I joined Keller Williams, and we grew from 2,000 to 72,000 and now 182,000. And so the question really is, how do you make happen things that are not now true? And it all begins with getting what you want. And that's what I want to be clear on here. Today could be a life-changing Zoominar for you. It really could, because I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the years about how to getting more out of life, more of what you want. So for the first 40 years of my life, I was pretty much doing what other people expected. I was an achiever. I went to school. I got my master's degree. I did decently in business and that sort of thing. I became a Dale Carnegie sales course instructor. And I did those things, but I was mostly just giving it raw effort and doing what other people expected. And then I got this vision that I could get what I wanted. And if I got clear about what I wanted, I could make it happen. And there were some ways to do it. And that began a whole amazing process of achievement. As I said, I became, because I set a goal for it, a regional director out of just being this little district manager. In 3 years, I became a divisional president. And my business plan for all of Century 21 was the one they said everyone else should follow. Follow the model of the Dave Jenks business plan. And when I joined up with Gary and Mo and we started building the company, I was the one that put together the written plan of how to do the step-by-step things we needed to do to install the models that we needed to implement the great vision that Gary Keller had for the company. And so I want to share those secrets with you because I think you'll find they're very important. So this whole next hour and 15 minutes, and then there's going to be a time for questions and ahas and response. afterwards, but I want you to pay close attention, take notes. I'll tell you how to get copies of all these slides as we go through this. So there's really 3 steps to getting what you want. This is really important, getting what you want out of life. And the biggest one is the first one, and that is you have to give yourself permission. Permission to go for what you want, not just to please other people, not just to meet other people's expectations, not just to kind of altruistically do what other people want and serve them. It's a very self-focused thing. And it doesn't mean you're selfish, because as Zig Ziglar said, you will get what you want in direct proportion to the number of people who you help get what they want. So we are in a service-oriented business, and almost all businesses are service-oriented. We succeed to the degree that we help others get what they want. However, a lot of people are still trying to meet other people's expectations and not giving themselves the permission to go for what they want. And I will tell you, the one thing that differentiates Gary Keller is that he gets what he wants. He's clear about it. He goes for it. He's focused on it. He intends to get it, and he gets it. And look, he set out in his vision to build the most powerful, innovative company in the history of the real estate industry, and he did it. And he gathered people together like Mo and I, who helped him. And of course, now we have just amazing numbers of powerful leaders like Eric in the company, and we're building what we're building. So but I would tell you that Gary said, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm not I don't work the hardest of anyone in the room, but I am the most focused of anyone in the room. And I will tell you that's true. And so I want to get away from this idea that getting what you want requires you to be a workaholic. It doesn't. Gary Keller, in all those years I worked with him, typically would get in about 9 or 9:30 to the office. Why? Because he wanted to do his early meditation. He wanted to do his reading. He wanted to do his workout. He wanted to have breakfast with his family, and he wanted to plan for his day. So he didn't get in early. He got in 9 or 30 unless there was an event going on. And he left at 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon because he wanted to be home when his son got home from school, and they had personal father-son time, and he wanted to have dinner with the family. So there was his work schedule. But when he was in the game, he was totally focused on what the game was and what he was doing. Now, Mo Anderson, his CEO, was different. She was a workaholic. She had built over her years growing up on a farm in Enid, Oklahoma. She had built this incredible work ethic, and she would work 16, 18 hours a day. She would work until 7 at night, go home, get a little meal, come back in and work till 1 in the morning and be back at 6 the next day. So she put this effort. And by the way, she would say, I'm a slow learner, but man, I work at it. And every speech she gave, she basically rehearsed many times because she wasn't a natural speaker. So I say all that because achievement styles are different. And it's important to use your achievement style. What is it that works for you? Now you can become self-aware and get better at it, but you still start with your nature as a person. So give yourself permission. That's number one, to go for what you want. It's okay to go for what you want. Then the big step is, and we're going to talk about some ways to do this, to decide what you want. Because to say yes to one thing is to say no to a bunch of others. And to do what Gary Keller says is to be focused. It's to do the one thing or the 1 or 2 things that matter the most. And then you want to be focused on why you want it. We devote a whole section in MREA on the big why. What is your motivation? We know the motives of the top agents that we worked with. And each one was different, by the way. It's not everyone's motive is the same, but the why is there. And when you have the why, it allows you to do the hard work it takes to achieve at anything. And right away, I just want to be real clear, as I was back in Magic Comes in Threes and in Why List with Me, if you were there for my earlier seminars, real estate is not easy. People would come to Gary and me and they'd say, well, it's not rocket science. And we go, oh, yes, it is. Real estate done at the highest level is rocket science. It's brain surgery. The knowledge you have to have is immense. The skills you have to build are unusual and take a long time to develop. And the disciplines you have are unusual for most people to build into their life, their work habits and their ethics, your discipline. So It's not easy to succeed in real estate. It is not. And that's why our earlier sessions, and if you weren't there at those, Lauren has recorded those and you can get it. And I would really particularly have you go to Magic Comes in Threes, because it really tells you the fundamental skill building and knowledge gaining part of how to be successful in real estate. Very pragmatic. Now, then the final thing is you need to go for it. And this is where it comes down to your own sense of energy and focus and determination, right? Things will go wrong and you'll have to recover from them. You know, as Linda McKissick said, you have to ask for business and not be attached to the answer, because you'll get a lot more no's than yeses, but it's the no's that lead you to the yeses. So the key is you have to ask. So you have to be able to deal and be resilient with the things that you have to deal with in real estate. Gary Keller says you fail your way to success. And I think that's true. I think being tough-minded and resilient, and again, we talked about that in the back half of Magic Comes in Threes. So once you know what you want, you get focused and you have this balance in life, I find, as an achiever. You know, I had a chance to have all these great executive positions with Century 21 and then become executive vice president of Keller Williams and build Keller Williams University and be the dean of Keller Williams University, and then the co-author with Gary of MREI and MREA, and then MREI, and then Shift, and working with Jay Papasan on those books. And I will tell you that in all of that, what you have to have is this balance between urgency and patience. You're very urgent about today's activities, getting at it, doing your 411, really focused on the activities, because in every entrepreneurial venture, it is about what you do, right? It's about what you get done. Now, it all starts with how you think. Remember that creative process, it's thought, word, and deed. First we think it, then we write it into goals and plans, and then we go after it. We take action, but you have to take action. So you're urgent in taking action today, but you're patient about the outcomes, because the outcomes will come when they come. If you're doing the right things now, the outcomes will come, but they don't always come in the same order. They come in batches, they come in plateaus. You track the outcome, but you're not attached to the outcome. You track the outcome, but you're not attached to it. What you are really attached to is doing what has to be done today. And we talked about that in our last session on MREA, about your dollar productive activities. So when you look at your life and you know your dollar productive activities, and go watch that video if you weren't part of that, you'll see what the $7 productive activities are. And the more your life is filled with those dollar productive activities, the more the results you get, the more you increase your dollars per hour, and the more you take your career to the highest level. So the 3 big steps of getting what you want is giving yourself permission. Do not just be tied to other people's expectations or even comparisons and competition. Give yourself permission to go for what you want. Then go through the work it takes, and we're going to do some work on this, how to decide what you want, and more importantly, why you want it, and then go for it with focus, urgency, and patience. Now, there's a mindset in this that's very important. Number 1 is you are a person of vision. Gary Keller's a visionary, not because he can predict the future, but because he creates it. The way to be a visionary is not about predicting the future like a prophet, but being a person who makes the future, who creates their own future. And that's the ability to see as possible that which is not now true, to see that you could become a $100,000 a year net income earner, even though that's not true, or to see that you could get to 500,000 or $1 million, as we have in MREA, that you could be netting $1 million a year from your real estate business, or you could get a net worth of $1 million, $2 million, $3 million or more by following the lessons of MREI, which we're going to talk about next month. We're going to talk about building financial independence and gaining passive income. But you begin to see as possible. So you start to see the possibility of your career. And one of the neat things about being in Keller Williams is you get to hang out with so many successful people. Keller Williams has, through KW Connect and its masterminds and all of the things, we have the best agents in the industry, and they share their ideas with everyone else, and they go for it, right? So we learn from each other. So we see as possible that which is not now true. Second thing is we have foresight. We see how to get there. And that's what the book MREA and Shift are. Those books are all about how you get there from here. Once you have that as a goal, say 500,000 or a million, or you want to have your business leveraged so you can do more dollar productive activities and aren't sort of tied as much to the business. You get leverage. You sense there's a path, and there's a path there that you will take, and it will get you to your goal, right? That's where you get to see the future and how to build it, how to plan it. And then finally, you have a sense of determination. Because as we said earlier, there will be obstacles. There will be deals that fall through. There will be people that disappoint you. There will be other agents that let you down. There will be people that don't tell you the truth. There will be people who rain on your parade, who try and make you feel less than, who undermine you. There may even be family members. And you have to have that resilience and determination and tenacity to stay in there. And by the way, those are characteristics you can build. Again, we covered those in the back section of Magic Comes in Threes. So if you want to go back in and really understand how to build mental toughness, how to be calm in the chaos, go back there and listen to that. But basically, you make a commitment to overcome whatever obstacles there are. You are determined to achieve those goals. That's the mindset: vision, foresight, and determination. Now, there's a skill set. And this is important because getting what you want is really a set of skills. It's a set of things you learn how to do. It's not, Hal Janine, who wrote a wonderful book called Managing, and he went from the mailroom of AT&T up to the chairman of the board. I mean, first CEO and then chairman of the board of a multi-billion-dollar company with 286 separate profit centers. And he said, the whole key to success is learning how to plan, learning how to set goals and plan. And he said, here's the thing. It's not easy. And it's a set of skills that'll take you at least 4 to 5 years to master the skills and art of planning. That's what it took me. It took me that. I first developed it, and then I used it as a regional director, and then I really used it big as a divisional president of Century 21. And then, of course, that gave me all kinds of muscle to bring to Keller Williams and help it as a company achieve its goals. So there's a skill set. And you build the skills by practice. You use them, you learn them. We're going to talk about what those skills are, but you study, try, and rehearse. That's how you master everything. Repetition is the mother of skill. Repetition is the mother of mastery. So what you do, whether it's in real estate, learning how to price properties or learning how to make an effective listing presentation, which we did that, and we're going to redo that one for you in June. We're going to redo Why List With Me, where you really work on your listing presentation and your scripts and dialogues, and you learn how to ask for business. You do all those skills and you build them by your constant practice. We're really like professional athletes in real estate. It takes us hours and hours and hours of practice to get really good at the skills that makes us a champion and world class, right? It's like we're like Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs spend 18 months training for every 6 months they spend in the field. The special forces, the warriors elite, the Navy SEALs. They spend much more time training than they do in the battlefield. And all great professions, you invest more in your training than you do in your delivery. That's what makes you world class at it. And then the second thing it takes is discipline, and that is staying at it every day. I once had one of my early mentors, Dr. Clifton C. Thorne, the vice president of the University of New York at Albany that I was at. He's one of my mentors, and he said, Dave, the unplanned day is not worth living. I went, whoa. The unplanned day is not worth living. So we plan every day, and we stay at that skill of staying true to our plan. We're going to talk more about that later. And then we time block in our schedule for training and for development, for working what we say on our business, not just in our business. That's one of the keys for high achievers. They take time out of every week to work on their business, not just in their business. Those who are in their business are more like on the treadmill, and they're busy, 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 but not productive. So we have to learn that discipline, and then we make it a habit. We make it a part of who we are. So one of the big challenges in getting more out of life and getting what we want is changing our habits from the habits of those who aren't getting what they want to the habits of someone who is control of their life and getting what they want. And the big payoffs, and this is a big deal, because once you master these skills we're talking about in this seminar, once you master these, you will have clarity, confidence, and control. You will have that more than anyone else around you. One, you'll have clarity. You'll know what you want, why you want it, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. You will know what your day is like. It will be planned. No one will be able to take you off pace. You will have more clarity than anyone else. Second of all, that'll lead to your confidence. Remember, we said in Magic Comes in Threes that competence leads to confidence. You can self-talk your way a little bit into more self-confidence and positivity, but really, real confidence comes from competence. You know what you know, and you know what you can do, and you're confident about it. So you will not worry, panic, or doubt. People who are confident, they may have things they're concerned about that they're taking care of, but they don't panic. They don't get stuck in the worry circuit, and they certainly don't have self-doubt, and they don't get into depression. They may go through tough times, and they may try and figure out where they're going from here, but they have the confidence that they can. They have the optimism, what Martin Seligman calls the optimism. They are an optimist. He's a great modern psychologist, Dr. Martin Seligman, who in 1998 got up in front of the American Psychological Association that he was the president of. And he said, we have spent decades studying mental illness and mental disease and dysfunction. And it's time for us to study mental health, mental functioning, and mental high performance. And he said, I'm doing that. And he formed a movement called positive psychology. And what he has learned in this time is amazing as to how we can control our emotional well-being and get what we want and achieve what he calls authentic happiness, right? And we do it by gaining confidence. And I have a list of the 10 best books on high achievement. And I'll share those with you, and I'll tell you how. I have the 10 best books I found on achievement and personal development and success. And I will send that to you. Just write this down, dave@kw.com, dave@kw.com. I'm going to have you send an email to that address. Don't do it now, because I'm going to ask a task of you. And then I will send you all these slides plus that list of the top 10 books and one other thing that I think you'll find very valuable. Anyway, it increases your confidence, and then ultimately it gives you control over your life. You will make the right things happen. Things will work out well. Things will work out better for you than they do for others. Why? Because you're in control, right? And it's an interesting thing about what positive psychology says and what we've learned in neuroscience of this, and that is, it isn't that success leads to happiness, it's that happiness leads to success. Isn't that interesting? Happiness leads to success. So one of the big challenges is staying happy, being grateful, doing those things that make us feel good and are happy, and that will lead us then to be more successful. It's not going to happen later, because you will make the right things happen. That's why it gives you control, whether you're doing it yourself in your own productivity or with others on a team, or like I had a chance to do in leadership positions. You will be in control. So those are the big payoffs right there. Now, here's what I have always found in life. It's good to have a guidance system. That's what MREA is. It's a guidance system. It's a guidance system for building your real estate career to the highest level. And the book Shift is the guidance system for the daily tactics of how to succeed in all economic times, not just in a shifted market, right? So both of those books are about, they're a guidance. Now, the guidance system I have followed over the years is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. And it's only 7 habits, and there's only 22 words in them. But if you can memorize those, and I highly recommend that you go get that book, or go on Blinkist.com, Blinkist, Blinkist.com, and get the condensed version, the 15-minute condensed version of it, or the 15-minute audio version, which they have of thousands of books. It's a great service, Blinkist. I use it all the time. And follow those 7 habits. And but the first 3 habits are really key to what we're talking about here. It's about what he calls the inner victories. And they go like this. Habit 1, be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit 3, do first things first. He said, if you do those 3 things, you will make happen in your life what you want, right? Be proactive, not reactive. Begin with the end in mind, decide what it is you're trying to accomplish, and do first things first. Live with priorities. They may be the hardest things, but do the most important things first in every day. And then the next 3 habits are really your external habits. Be win-win, seek first to understand, and then synergize, work your success through others. Those are the next 3. And the final habit the 7th habit that circles it all is sharpen the saw. Do what you're doing today. Go to training. See, what Gary Keller and I knew was that the best agents went to more training. Linda McKissick, top agent, 7th level, 352 transactions in a year that we interviewed her, 4 admins, 5 buyer specialists, 2 listing specialists, and a manager. She wasn't even managing it. And she said, Dave, I've taken career visioning 12 times because I have to learn how to hire people and manage them. So top agents they go to repetition. This is the other thing. Repetition is the mother of mastery. So the more education you go to where you're hearing things you've heard before, the better, because that will get that into your mind and get it implemented. So the 7th habit, the 8th habit is find your voice. Interesting, he did a separate one. So it's find your voice. In other words, do it your unique way. Find your own unique strengths. Use your strengths, not your weaknesses. Bridge your weaknesses, use your strengths, but do it your unique way. The 8th habit is find your voice. And then Gary Keller and I, as we built Keller Williams University, Gary asked a wonderful question. He said, Dave, what is it that differentiates high achievers from people who don't achieve as much? And we spent several days hammering this out, and we came up with a course that has been fundamental in Keller Williams for the last 22 years. And that is the 6 personal perspectives. And we said, here are the 6 ways in which high achievers think differently. Number 1 is they make a commitment to self-mastery. In other words, they are really masters of themselves. They build the skills, the disciplines, and the emotional stability of a high achiever. So 1 is they commit to self-mastery. Number 2 is they focus with the 80-20. They realize that 20% of what we do leads to 80% of the results we want. And therefore, we focus on what's the 20%? What are the dollar productive activities? And we focus our energy there. We don't get distracted. And habit number 3 is move from E to P, move from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Instead of just doing what comes easy, we do what works. And we move from entrepreneurial to purposeful. And that has a whole set of things about building knowing the right options, having the right focus, installing the right systems, having accountability. All of that is how you move from E, entrepreneurial, winging it basically, to purposeful, getting good things done. So that's number 3. Number 4 is being learning based, just like we're doing here today. Be an adult learner. Use learning as part of your strategy to get better. Modern psychologists say there's 2 kinds of people in achievement businesses, right? There's growth-oriented people and there's stability-oriented people. And growth-oriented people say, I can increase my knowledge, expand my skills, develop better attitudes, and I can get better outcomes. Whereas a stability person says, I am who I am, what you see is what you get, telling it like it is, doing the best with what I've got. Nothing wrong with that, takes a lot of pressure off, but it isn't what leads to high achievement, being growth oriented. So you're here, you're growth oriented, that's big. So being learning based. Number 5 is a real tricky one people don't understand. Removing your limiting beliefs. All of us have limiting beliefs and limiting ways we self-talk to ourselves. The way we undermine ourselves, put ourselves down, create anxiety and panic and doubt and sometimes depression. And we need to get rid of those. And the way we do it is through training and therapy. We train our way out of or we go into therapy, because the first step in getting rid of your limiting beliefs is awareness, to become aware that you have limiting beliefs. And then when you become aware of that, you then can start to make changes, and you actually naturally will. So removing limiting beliefs. And the final one, the sixth personal perspectives, is accountability, that you will be accountable. And of course, there's 2 forms of that. There's the first form, which is if it's to be, it's up to me. That's personal accountability. I take accountability, I take responsibility, ownership for anything happening in my life is because I caused it. Therefore, I can change it. As opposed to being a victim, by the way, where you think everything that happens to you is because of what somebody else or what the conditions were that led to it. And then the second part of accountability is I will let someone hold me accountable, so that I meet with them and they will be my mirror, my feedback, and I will improve my performance because they will hold me accountable. So 1, it's self-accountability. 2 is it's allowing someone else to hold you accountable, which is why almost every high achiever in any endeavor has a coach or a series of coaches. And then the next thing is use the power tools. Spiral notebook, calendar, and a 1-3-5-4-1-1. We're going to talk about the 1-3-5-4-1-1. I'll just tell you that for me, and Gary Keller taught me this when I joined him 25 years ago, he said, Dave, keep everything in a spiral notebook. You will be so much more organized and clear. Have one notebook, 8.5 by 11, spiral, so it's easy to flip open and write on both pages. Write down everything in there: phone numbers, things you say you're going to go do, to-do lists, notes from a seminar you went to like this one, notes from preparing a book, and don't take any of those pages out. If you're going to use those pages like we did in writing a book, I'll make a photocopy of the page and put it over in my folder for that book or for that chapter of that book. But I will keep it all in my spiral notebook. Why? Because our mind thinks chronologically. And if we want to go back and find something, we can do it. And I put a date at the top of every page so that I know what date I wrote that on, and I can keep track of my notes, right? I was just on a regional director conference call this morning with Keller Williams regional directors across the country for 3 hours. And I had my spiral notebook and I was taking my notes right there. I think I'm at my 165th spiral notebook so far. It's a great management tool for your time and your awareness and to capture your ideas. It's a great place to brainstorm, to put down all of your thoughts and ideas and things you're going to do. It's part of the planning process, right? Because you're being mindful of what you want to do and you're capturing your thoughts. It's a source for creativity too, to put down your creative thoughts about what's possible. And then a calendar, and whatever kind of calendar works for you. I've always used a month at a glance paper calendar because I want to be able to open it and visually see an entire month and flip a page and see that entire month. And somehow it gives me the preparation time and readiness rather than looking at one day at a time like happens on my smartphone. But you have to make sure your calendar fits the style. If you have a lot of appointments every day, then you want probably a day at a glance where you can fill in all of those times or do your time blocking. But even in my busiest times with my most executive responsibilities, I found that a month at a glance worked best for me. And then of course, we're going to get to the tools, the 1-3-5, which is what gives you focus, and the 4-1-1, which keeps you on track. We're going to do those, but use those power tools. So these are the tools for getting what you want, in my experience. Now, everyone knows that goal setting and planning is important. It's really interesting. Even though in the general population, less than 80% of people have written goals. Of course, they out-earn 4 or 5 times more money than the people who don't have written goals, but only less than 10% have written goals. Even in an achievement business like real estate, fewer than 20% of agents have written goals and plans. It's amazing. I think in Keller Williams, it's higher than that because we teach it so well. So it might be up to 50%. But still, the question is, if goal setting and planning are so obvious, why don't people do it? Well, the answer is because it's difficult. It is hard work. Number one is it takes thinking, and that is hard work. You have to take time away, get rid of the disruptions, get rid of the distractions, and you have to think about what you want and how you're going to get it and why you want it and when you're going to do it. It takes thought, and it takes thought on a regular basis. It's not a one-time deal. Planning and getting what you want is an ongoing process. It's not an event. Number two is it requires making decisions. As we said earlier, saying yes to one set of goals is to say no to a whole bunch of other things. And a lot of people like to kind of go with the wind and respond day to day and whatever comes up. You can live that way, nothing problem, but you don't make much progress and you certainly don't get what you want, right? And then it involves making commitments. And I had a great mentor of mine, Tom Caldwell, a pioneer in Keller Williams, who took Keller Williams up to Colorado and built it out. He and his wife, Gwen, amazing pioneer for us. And he said, Dave, the secret to success is doing what you say you'll do. Doing what you say you'll do. If you do what you say you'll do, if you can make commitments and live up to them, promises made, promises kept, you will get what you want. You will be a high achiever. But he said, so few people do that. And he said, in fact, he said, I keep a commitment list, not just a to-do list. I have my to-do list, but above that, I keep a commitment list. So anytime I say to someone, oh, I'll get that to you, I'll get back to you, let's have lunch next week. Let's spend some time talking about that. Oh yeah, I'll get that document to you. Anytime you make a commitment to someone else to do something, then you put it on your commitment list. And he said, I always make sure at the end of every day that I have fulfilled all my commitments. And then I check and see how I'm doing on my to-do list. So anyway, a great thing, make commitments. And then it takes work. It takes work to achieve goals. Once we achieve a goal, then there's going to be work to do. And whether it's MREA or shift or going to training or doing lead generation or learning command or whatever it is, there's going to be work to do. So that's why a lot of people don't do it, because it takes these four things. Now, another thing about getting what you want is knowing why. If you know why you want something, you'll figure out how. Tim Wood, one of the guys we interviewed in the back of the MREA book, said the right why kicks the butt of any how. When you know why you want something, you'll figure out how, right? It's like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, if you're ready, I'm the teacher, I've appeared. If you know why, then you'll get the answers. The answers are all there. It's just a matter of, are you committed? Do you know what you want and why you want it? So the key is what we say on the front of the book. It's not about the money, it's about being the best you can be. And in MREA, we say it's about knowing your big why. What is it? What is your purpose in life? What is it that drives you? And what are your other whys? The things you want to write down, these three words: have, do, and be. Have, do, be. What things do you want to have, own, possess? What things do you want to do? Experiences, travel, that kind of thing. Pay for your kids' education, do. Or become, be. I want to become more confident. I want to become more in control. I want to become a better lister. I want to become a bigger team, whatever it is. Know all the other whys that you want. And then there's a wonderful story in a book by the Heath brothers called Switch, Making Change When Change is Difficult. And in there, the Heath brothers tell this story, this ancient East Indian story about the driver, the elephant, and the path. And they said life is about having a driver, an elephant, and a path. The driver sitting on top of the elephant knows where they want to go. They know the destination. They know where they want to go. And they're intense about getting there. The path is how to get there, the road, the map. Like MREA is a path to get to being a top real estate agent. But they said, until you motivate the elephant is your subconscious. The elephant is your inherent habits and abilities. The elephant is your muscle. Until you convince the elephant that there's a reason for them to go to the destination you want, it won't move. And if your elephant won't move, you won't move. So in a sense, what we have is your executive mind that knows where you want to go. You have your intelligent mind, how to get there, your awareness. But then under it all is your unconscious, your mind below thinking, your subconscious. And until you can motivate that. Now, when you do, what you can accomplish is unstoppable. Once your subconscious, your unconscious is motivated, the amount of skill and ability that God has endowed us with is so massive that you'd be amazed at what you can do. I can tell you, a lot of the agents I interviewed who were 7th level agents, netting over $1 million a year, they said, you know what, 15 years ago, I would have never thought this was possible. I would have never thought, but I wanted to get more, and I studied the path, and then I understood what my life would look like if I could get this far along, and wow, look what's happened, right? So you want to get clear with your driver, you want to study the path, and you want to motivate your elephant so that you use all those vast abilities that are hidden within you to go get it. And then, so the question is, what are your unique motivators? What really uniquely motivates you? Gary Keller asked me when he was interviewing me to join the staff, he and Mo Anderson, at the time, he said he was doing what's called Future Self or getting the book. And he said, Dave, what's the most important thing that has to show up for you in your next job opportunity? And I said, I want to be involved in a worthy mission. See, I'm a mission guy. I like doing really big, important things, right, that make a difference in the world. So it has to be a worthy mission. He said, okay, what else? The work needs to be diverse and interesting. Okay, I want work and challenging. Diverse, interesting, and challenging. I said, okay. I knew I like to do things that are difficult and stretch me, right? And have require many skills to do. And he said, okay, then if you have those two things, what next? I said, I want to work with people I respect. See, who I work with matters. And I want to be with people that I respect, who respect me and I trust. And then he said, is there anything else? And I said, yeah, I want to be paid well for what I do. So I did want an economic payoff, but it was number 4 on my list of motivators. So my question to you is, what are your unique motivators? If you were to list your top 3 or 4 motives for succeeding in real estate, what would they be? It's a big deal to study that. Now, here's how we make it work. We remember the power of intention, right? All begins with our mind. Creativity is thought, word, and deed. First we think it, then we write it, then we do it. Thought, word, and deed. So remember the power of intention. Commit to the process of planning. It's ongoing. It's not a one-time event. It's a daily, weekly, annual event. Process of planning. Make it a part of your habit. Just make it that you are like that executive, Cliff Thorne, who said, Dave, the unplanned day is not worth living. Whoa. So every day for him was planful. For Gary Keller, every day is planful. Mo Anderson, every day is planful. For Dave Jenks, every day is planful. So connect it to your whys, make sure that it supports your motives, and then use what I call the power tools. And now let's dive into these are the pragmatic parts of it. Using the tools, I think there's 4 that really, really help you get what you want. One is a dream list with lights. Another one is the 135, and many of you already know that from your training in Keller Williams, so I'm going to hit that lightly. Same with the 411. It's your focus system. And then finally, understanding the real power of an accountability process, right? Because that really sustains us going after and getting what we want, that accountability process. So let me tell you what I mean by dream list of lights. See, there's a big issue we deal with in a high achievement. One is it's going after what we want. And then on the other hand, it's the part of our mind that doubts whether we can do that, that is kind of trying to protect us from making mistakes or taking chances. It's our negative side. It's our black hat. Our white hat or green hat is our creative. Oh yeah, anything's possible. And the black hat or red hat is the side that says, yeah, maybe not for you. And we need to balance that, right? I love Linda McKissick says, It's being grateful for what you have while going after what you want. That's one of the neat balances in life. Being happy with what you have while going after what you want. It's that idea that happiness leads to success. So you want to be happy with what you have and grateful while still going after something more, what you want, right? So the way we balance this idea, it's almost like, we're driving and we want to go fast, so we put our one foot on the gas, and then we're afraid of going too fast, so we put our other foot on the brake, and we're pushing down hard on both of them, and we're going to burn out the engine, right? Because we got the gas on and we've got the brakes on. A lot of people do this when they start to do their goal setting, because they have their aspirational side and then they have their doubtful side. So here, this is the process that I have used, and I use this about once a year. Number one is I build a dream list, and a dream list is a list of things that I would like to do. I would want to do, maybe. It's a maybe list. So the first thing you do is get creative, a green light on what might possibly you would like to go after. What would you like? And write 3 words here: have, do, and be, just like we did before, right? What would you like to have? A big screen TV, another car, another house, a vacation home, more clothes. What would you like to have, own? Second, what would you like to do? Go on a vacation, go to Disney World, take a trip, go sailing, go skiing. What would you like to do? And then the final one is, what would you like to be? I'd like to be more confident. I'd like to be more financially secure. I'd like to be more sure of myself. I'd like to take more chances, right? I'd like to be more courageous, whatever it is. So just make this list. And what you do now, understand how this process works. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take that negative side of you, that analytic side of you. Don't judge it, because it's there to protect you. And you're going to send it away. You're going to send it to its room. Okay, critic and judge, I don't need you right now. I'm not going to make any decisions without you. I'm going to listen to you, but not now. So you send them off to their room, close them off, get yourself in a quiet, uninterrupted place for 2 or 3 hours, maybe some soft music playing, some incense burning, that kind of thing, whatever, get you in a creative mood. And now start to write down on this list all the things that you would like to have, do, or be. And the list should go to probably 200 or 300 items. And don't worry about whether you've already written them down. Oh, maybe this is a repetition. Write it down anyway. Don't worry about whether you think you can or can't, or anything. Don't judge it. Just write. If that thought occurs to you, write it down. By the way, writing it down doesn't commit you to it. So just because you write down something doesn't mean you're committed to it at all. So just write them down. And now I like to use a spreadsheet, what's called, it's digital, an Excel, that's Microsoft version, spreadsheet. You could use any digital, because I'll show you later, you're going to want to easily sort things. And you can do that electronically easier on a spreadsheet than you can, say, with 3x5 cards or on a yellow pad. But you can use that if you want. 3x5 cards, you at least can shuffle them. So, but I would say spreadsheet. And if you need someone to set up a spreadsheet, just easy. The first column is going to be dreams. That's just going to be a column, and it's going to be dreams, and 1 line for each one. You just use a short phrase that will remind you of what that is. Build a new house. Okay, you haven't got any details, but you want to build a new house, or move to, and then put down a city. So you put those. And by the way, don't worry about repetition. Like if you say travel the world, write it down. If you say, well, I'd really like to go to Europe, write it down. Oh, I'd really like to go to France, write it down. Separate one. Don't worry about the fact that one sort of, is similar to another or repeats it. You're just going for quantity. You're going for quantity, because if it occurs to you, it's probably somewhere in your realm of wanting to do it. You may not specifically want to do that, but it may lead you to another one. It may lead you to another one, right? It may lead you to another trigger so writing them all down is important. You'll see why in a second. So you want to go for a whole bunch, 200, 300. You want to get past the ones that you're sort of are considered automatically acceptable. This would be an automatically acceptable goal, or this is what my parents have been saying, or this is what my friends have been saying, or this is what some teacher said. No, make sure it's yours, right? Earl Nightingale said, success is the progressive realization of personal, predetermined, worthwhile goals. Success is the progressive realization of personal, they're yours, predetermined, you set them ahead of time, worthwhile, they have value, goals. So it's all about the achievement of goals, those kind of goals. So that's what you're moving toward here. So green light, we get all those listed down, maybe do 2 or 3 different sessions. Maybe 1 or 2 hours, and then do it maybe 2 or 3 times. I would say sometime, usually any time is fine, but maybe on an annual basis between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, you take and do this green light thinking. That's what we call it, green light thinking. Then we invite our critic back out of the bedroom and say, okay, now you can have at it. Here's my list of dreams that I've written down, haven't committed to any of them yet. And I want you to analyze them. And I want you to analyze them from 2 points of view. And so that would be your next column. At the top of the next column, it says doable, doable. How doable is that dream, or that if it became a goal? How doable is it? If it's a 10, it's very easy to do. Call my mother and tell her I love her. Okay, that would be easy to do. That's a 10, maybe a 9 if I have to make a plan for it. Or if it's like get my doctorate, or become a $1 million net income earner, maybe it's a 3, 2, or 1. Might not be easy. Okay, so doability, that's the first one. And after each, you go down through, after each of your dreams, just really quickly say, okay, how doable is that? Oh, that's a 10. Oh, that's an 8. Oh, that's a 5. Ooh, that's a 3 or 2. Whatever it is, go down that list and just put in a number. It doesn't, remember, this is a creative mental exercise. It's not, there's no some massive precision to it. You do that. Now the next column, it says import at the top, import, and that means important. How important to me is this dream, or the achievement of this dream? And again, it's a 10 if it's very important. It's a 1 if it's not very important. You thought of it, but it really, when you think about it, it's not that important. Interesting, but not important, right? So you then, for each of your dreams, you now go down again that list and put down a 10, 8, 9, all the way down to 1 for each one, and you decide what it is, and just again let that gut level judgment. Ooh, wow, that would be very important. That's an 8. That's only mediocre important. That's a 5. No, really, that's not. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but it's not important. It's a 2. Whatever. Just go down through that list. So now you have your list of dreams, 200 or 300 of them. You've got 2 columns, doable and important, and they each have a number. Now you create a third one, and it's called power. Power. It's giving it a power ranking, and that's where you multiply the two numbers times each other. So if calling my mother and telling I love her was a doable, it's a 10, and very important, also a 10, that would be 10 times 10, it would be 100. If something on there like, owning a $3 million yacht was like a 2, and then its importance was a 2, that'd be 2 times 2, it'd be a 4, right? So the point is, after each of these items on your 200 or 300 dream list will be now multiplied a power rank, a power rating, a power rating. It's those 2 red columns times each other. Now, you go through and you now sort that spreadsheet, which there's an easy way to do it. Let someone show you. You sort of select the whole spreadsheet and you sort it on the power column. Now all the names will move with the proper number, but now you'll have them in descending rank by their power rating. okay, that power column. Now that just is a guidance system. Again, you haven't committed to it, but now you're going to be the next column, which says date, D at the top, DATE, and it's the date I'm committing to it. And now you're doing blue light or decisive thinking. Now you're making decisions. And so now you go to each item, and it's easy because it's guided you, the highest ranking ones power wise. By the way, it doesn't mean you'll commit to them. Just because they're easy and important doesn't mean you'll commit. You look at it and you go, am I committed to that? Okay, what date am I going to either do that by? Like, let's say earn $100,000 net income in my real estate. Okay, that's your dream. And you say, well, I could do that by the end of this year. Okay, then you put down 12/31/21. That would be the date you would put there. If it's, I want to start working out 3 days a week, and let's say that's a 5, because it's not easy, but it's a 7, important, 35, you get down there and you say, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to start next week on Monday. So you put next Monday's date. So you're either putting the start date of a new habit, or you're putting the accomplishment of an outcome or result. Either one, but you're putting a date to it. You're putting a date to it. And now you have a set of items you've made a commitment to. This is your blue light, is your commitment list. I am committed to these goals, and they have a date. So now you have a calendar. Now you can resort your list. You have it sorted by power rating. You can now resort it by the dates, meaning newest to furthest. And now you'll have sort of an order in which you've committed to things. And now you can transfer those onto a goal sheet. You can transfer those on, or some of them onto a 411, right? So there you go. This is a process for deciding what you want. It's called the dream list with lights: green light, creative; red light, analytic, doable and important; blue light, decisive, am I committed to it, put a date after it, and then I create a calendar of goals off of my dream list. It's a good process. It's a powerful process. I would do it maybe once a year, twice a year. You can always update your dream list. If you think of something you want to add to your dream list, just add it. But it'll be, at the bottom, and it won't get into the mix until you're making new decisions later about what you're committed to, right? But you'll take it through the same process. So I found this process, and people that I've coached on this is very helpful in really deciding what you want. Now, the 135, we know it, we teach it in Keller Williams. This is your focus tool. And it says in every venture, there's one outcome that will, if we succeed at that, it will really make the venture successful, right? That's it. Whether it's number of attendees at an event, or number of donors, or amount of money raised to a fundraising effort, or amount of sales or production, whatever it is. And then there's 3 priorities, and those are the 3 strategies that will get us to the 1, right? So that's why it's a 135. This is a focus tool. It's a guidance system. 1 big goal, and then 3 priorities of activity or strategic goals that lead to it. And then the creative is in the 5 steps under each priority. This is the most creative part, the steps. Or the other is decisive, and this is creative. This is where I say, what are the 5 things that I'm going to accomplish under that priority that will lead me to that goal? It's a 1-page document, 135. Now, for me, if I'm an agent, my number 1 is always going to be net income. It's going to be my income minus expenses minus cost of sale, and before taxes. Taxes are a different issue. So it's my net income. And you can see there's places in MREA to study all of this. My net income, that's my number 1. My first one is lead generation. How many leads am I going to generate? And then number 2 is transactions. How many transactions am I going to do? So leads and lead conversion to appointments, and then appointments and listings and sales are the second one, but I call it transactions. First one is leads. Second one is transactions. And then the third one is cost control, how I control my costs, my budget. right? So those are my big three, because I think in production, that's what it is. It's lead generation, it's transactions, actually doing transactions, being productive, and then it's managing the money. Those are my three priorities. And then under each of those, I have 5 steps of things I'm going to do to increase my lead generation and conversion, and increase my listing appointments and converting to transactions and closings. That's going to be in the middle one. And the final one's going to be my budget for income and how I control my expenses, and how I track that and how I get to my net income number. So that's for me. That's how I would do a 1-3-5 if I were producing in real estate. Then there's the 4-1-1, and this is the accountability system that keeps you on track. And remember, it stands for 1 set of yearly goals, 1 set of monthly goals, and then 4 weeks in a month. And by the way, it's not a calendar, so you don't fill out all 4 weeks. You fill them out one at a time, because it creates this rhythm of focus. As you come into your year, you take 2 or 3 days to build your annual goals. And I would say 5 or 7, 5 to 7 is the most. I would say 3 to 5 is better in business and personal. You have 3 to 5 business goals, 3 to 5 personal goals. Don't make it more. More goals is confusing and less likely to be achieved. And then at the month level, I'm going to have sub goals of those annual goals, plus any project that I want to get done that month, like installing my database or something. And then each week is a set of actions. And these are the things I'm going to act on. This is the things I'm going to do. I'm going to get out a 12 direct mailer. I'm going to call 40 for sale by owners. I'm going to call 20 people in my database, whatever it is. Those are your weekly actions, and then you fill those out. So again, you take 2 to 3 days to fill out your annual goals. You take 2 to 3 hours to plan your next month, and then 20 to 30 minutes to plan each week. And you do 1 week at a time. And then depending on how you did that week, you do the next week. So this gives you ongoing focus and ongoing accountability, and it creates a rhythm of planning. So it's part of your discipline. And now we get to accountability. And this is, Gary Keller says, I built this company on accountability. He said, I got the best consultants and I did what they said. In fact, he said, here's his 3 steps. If you're going to get a coach to help you in your business, and we highly recommend it, in Keller Williams, it really leads to really good performance. Number 1 is find the best one you can find. Number 2 is pay them whatever they charge. And 3, do what they say. And Gary Keller did this. I remember when Keller Williams was struggling in the early 90s and wasn't going anywhere. And Gary's coach at the time, Bain said, Gary, you need leverage. I know you're losing money, but this is a big venture and you've got a bunch of complicated things you want to install. You need leverage. And so we hired Mo Anderson as his CEO. And a year later, she hired me as the executive vice president, and away we went. Right? He did what he said, right? Find the best, pay what they charge, do what they say. Now, here's how an accountability system works. Find someone you respect, whether that's a MAPS coach or a team leader or another peer partner, someone you respect, and give them the right to hold you accountable. 2, have regular, consistent meetings. High achievers do it every day. Probably for achievement people, minimum is once a week, and certainly strategically, minimum once a month. You have a production tracking system that tracks all of your activities and your outcomes. The number of calls you make, the people you add to your database, the number of listing appointments you have, the number of listings you take, the number of sales that close, all of that. And remember this, we said this earlier in Magic Comes in Threes. What you track improves. What you track improves. What you measure gets done. What you track improves. Whatever numbers you track and keep aware of, and through your accountability system, get feedback on, those numbers will improve. That's what they're for. Accountability is not for discipline. Accountability is for improved performance. And then tell the truth. tell the truth. Just if you did the calls, fine. If you didn't, admit it. I mean, don't fudge the numbers. That is the worst trick you can pull on yourself and your accountability coach. Just tell the truth. And when you have an accountability system like this, it's amazing what you can get done. It really is amazing how it improves your performance. That's why, again, all high achievers, whether they're actors, actresses, performers, professional athletes, business people, highest selling salespeople, all have coaches and accountability. They believe in it. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is dealing with the things that'll get in your way and undermine your getting what you want. I call them the demons, dealing with the demons. And there's really three. First, addictions, things that you do on a regular basis that don't serve you. Obviously, drugs or alcohol or something like that, but you can be addicted to personal, you can be addicted to sex, you can be addicted to relationships, you can be addicted to getting other people's approval and having them, quote, like you. There's lots of things you can become addicted to. And the only way to get out of them, by the way, and I've overcome alcoholism and I've overcome the need for other people's approval and recognition. Both of those things were big things for me to overcome. There's only one way you do it, and that is self-awareness. All the people in the world that try and tell somebody else they're an alcoholic get nothing but, I drink occasionally, but I'm fine, right? But it's when the alcoholic realizes they are addicted to this alcohol or this drug and they're self-aware, then they can make a change, right? You know what? I'm drinking too much. That's what I decided. I'm drinking too much. I'm using alcohol as an escape from my responsibilities and from my thinking. And I had to face that. And so then you get mindful on how do you overcome that? So whether you use AA or you use a coach or whatever, you say, how do I overcome this? And then meditation and getting really quiet with yourself is a great technique we talked about that in Magic Comes in Threes. So meditation is a great way to get centered and more calm and get rid of your addictions. So addictions, they'll get in the way. Number two, diversions, things that you do that don't matter. People it's probably a combination between addiction and diversions, but computer games, or pornography, it's like these are diversions. Or for me, actually, I had to realize that some of my hobbies were diversions, like golf. I would play many more hours of golf, or watching professional football. It wasn't productive. See, and the question you have to ask yourself is, does this matter? Does this activity really matter to me? Does it give me joy? Does it give me pleasure? Or am I just doing it because I have done it habitually? Is it really me? And how does it make me feel, right? I mean, I could watch football all Sunday afternoon. At the end of it, I felt terrible. I just felt terrible because I had wasted all that time. So again, self-awareness is the key, but you want to remove from your life your addictions and your diversions, and then you have to learn how to deal with distractions. Because once you're successful, other people will want a part of your time. And as one of my mentors said, if you don't have your own plan, you'll be part of somebody else's. And a lot of us who like to say yes to people and like how they have others like us, we're part of their plan, not ours, right? We're doing what they want us to do. We're just saying yes. They ask us to do something, I say yes. Oh, Dave, I have a problem with my computer here. Can you help me? Oh yeah, let me help you. Right, Dave, I just need your advice on one thing. Would you help me? Oh yeah. Dave, I need to volunteer on this committee. I'd love to have you join us. Would you do it? Oh yeah, that'd be great. Right? And we commit to things we didn't want to commit to. And at the end of it, we go, why did I say yes? I don't want to do that. It's an interference with my goals. So we have to learn to control our time, control our focus, and then learn to say no in a nice way. Now, you don't have to say it nicely. I remember when we were writing, somebody would ask me, by the way, how were you guys able to write the best-selling book in the history of real estate? 1.4 million copies sold, still number one on Amazon.com in the real estate category, MREA. How did you write that with all the things? I mean, you had a small company, only 8,000 agents, only 25 staff members. You were growing, you all had tasks to do. How did you do that? And I said, Tuesdays with Gary. I said, every Tuesday afternoon from 1 to 4, we would work on the book. 10 months later, we had a bestseller. Isn't that amazing? But he would not let anyone interrupt us. Mo Anderson, his president, might knock on the door and say, "Hey, Gary, I just have one quick question." He'd go, "Mo, no, we're writing the book. This is our priority time for that. Get on my calendar." So sometimes, you don't have to be nice about it. Don't think you always have to be nice, but here's a nice way to do it. Here's the way I've learned to do it. You are a positive response without committing, right? So someone says, "Dave, we're doing this committee on how to reorganize, our agent leadership council. Would you be on it?" "Oh, thank you for asking me. I really am honored that you asked me to do this, and I would love to. I tell you what, I got a lot on my plate right now. Let me check, and I'll get back to you this afternoon." Then you get back in the afternoon, you say, "Jim, I would love to do that. Thank you for asking me, but I can't do it. I've got so much on my plate. It wouldn't be a favor to you because I wouldn't do a good job, and it certainly wouldn't be a favor to me. So check back with me in a couple, 3 months." Right? Same thing with, "Oh, Dave, would you help me with this computer problem? I'll tell you what, I've got a time open between 4 and 4:30 this afternoon. Put your name on my door, and I'm seeing people about any technology problems they have then. Okay, so put your name on that door." See? Find a way to delay. I call the pause that gives you control. Find a nice way to say, "I'd love to, let me check. By the way, I can't." Right? That's much softer than just going, "No, yeah, no." But just saying no is a good thing. So there's what you have to deal with. The demons that will take you away from getting what you want are addictions, diversions, and distractions. And find your strategy and way, and be honest with yourself at dealing with all three of those. Okay? So getting what you want. So here's the thing. For those of you who would like all these slides, and you would like my top 10 books on goal setting and achievement, and by the way, there's a new chapter in the book Shift by Gary Keller that was written in 2011, 2012, that is the best thing ever written on high achievement. And it's 16 pages long, that's all, and it comes out of a conversation with his son, John, when he was a teenager. So it's a great document for teenagers or young adults on why become an achiever and why do the work it takes to be an achiever and get what you want, which is the payoff. I'll send you a digital copy of that so you can make copies and give it to any young people that you have, 16 pages long. I'll send you that, my top 10 books for high achievement, for getting what you want, and all the slides that we covered here today. Send me an email, dave@kw.com, make any comments you want, and then give me 3 ahas, 3 things that jumped out at you from this session. Right? 3 ideas. And this is good for you to do for yourself, because ahas really lead to implementation. So 3 ahas, that'll give me some feedback on what was getting through, by the way. So I do it for myself too. So send that to dave@kw.com, dave@kw.com. Again, make any comments you want about this session. Give me those 3 ahas, and I will send you all these slides and those 2 other items. I should be able to get those out to you tomorrow. Okay, that would be the plan. Friday at the latest. Okay, so here, let me just let's summarize what we've done in this session. The key to getting what you want in life is mastering the goal setting process. It's a skill, like any skill, like learning to hit a golf ball, learning to ski, learning to do anything, learning to sing. Understand the power of visioning, the ability to see as possible that which is not now true, because what you see is what you get. Life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. As you see it, so shall it be. Use these planning tools, right? The dream list, the 135, the 411, the spiral notebook. Use those planning tools to stay in control. Avoid the distractions, the addictions, the diversions, and the distractions. Avoid those. Find ways and techniques to avoid them. Stay on track with accountability. Have a great coach who holds you accountable and who you allow to hold you accountable so that you stay on track to that 135, that big goal. And then just understand life is a great opportunity, right? It's wonderful we have this opportunity. Real estate is a great place where there are no ceilings, no limits. You can get what you want. It isn't easy, but you can get what you want. And I would just say to you, feel the power of being, clear, being confident, and being in control, and enjoy the journey. It's a great one. Hey, Lauren.
Hello, thank you so much. I
Back
was
with
taking
me.
notes.
Yeah, good. And so if anyone has any questions, you can either chat them in or unmute and ask them, or any comments that you want to make, any ahas, anything that stood out for you in this. Feel free to do that.
Hi, Dave. Um, this is Lorraine Tomadio.
Hi, Lorraine. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for putting on the webinar. It's great. You talked about getting the one notebook, 8.5 by 11, and you put everything in there. Years ago, I've been in the business a long time. And
Yep.
I used to do that like for my whole life. I had this 8.5 by 11 notebook, and everything went in there on a daily basis. But then I would say, oh, I took a seminar maybe, I don't know how many months ago, and then I couldn't find things, and it would be chopped up, like session 1 would be here, and then session 2 would be 75 pages down the road. And so I started using small notebooks, and I started for different things. So like one, I have all my buyers in, one is for my sellers, one is for never ending referrals, that program that I take, one is for my coaching, one, so I've done that. So I'm torn now. Do I go back to the big?
Well, I understand that, I think you obviously, as you kind of went through numbering those, you realize that, wow, walking around with 10 notebooks is a little cumbersome, right? So that would be too far to take it. Having one that might be your creativity notebook that you use for seminars and for coaching, and then another one that would be my business notebook, which is any notes I take with sellers, with buyers, with whatever, right? But the idea of the single notebook, and I'm telling you, no one leads a more complicated life than Gary Keller, and I would tell you, probably not a whole lot more complicated than me. We were writing books, we were doing seminars, we were having meetings, and what I found was that the real benefit was in having it in one place. And when I would think back, I took that seminar, back last October, I could grab that notebook and it wouldn't take me long to find that seminar. So I don't know about the search idea, right? The idea that I can't go back and find it. I always could go back and find it because I found that my mind thought chronologically and it would know. Now, the other thing that I said before is that if it was part of a big project, like for example, writing a book or preparing for a seminar, then I would, after I did my brainstorming in that notebook, I would make photocopies of those pages and then put them in that folder. The folder would say MREA or MREI, or the folder would say, seminar on working on doing my listing presentation. And so for projects, I would make copies and put those in those folders, because those folders kind of really, and then if I would get, let's say an article from somewhere or copy something off the internet, I would also put that in that folder because that folder became all the content. I wouldn't put that in my notebook. So anyway, I think, one of these things, whether it's calendars or notebooks, how we keep track or even how we organize things around us, like our filing system, where we keep what, that sort of thing. I think we have to find the system that works for us, right? I mean, I really think that's where you build your own unique system. The question is it a system? Do I know why I've selected that system? And does it work for me? right? That's it. So I'm not selling one system. I'm just saying that it's good to have a system, and the one that from a note-taking point of view, because it was so easy for me to carry that one notebook with me all the time. And if somebody like gave me their phone number and address, well, I would write it right down there. Now later I might transfer it to my database or my file where where I keep people's names and numbers, like my Outlook or something. So a lot of times I would be transferring things out of the notebook, but I would always know where it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is a game. I think the game of productivity, the game of getting what you want, and the game of achieving your real estate goals, they're all games, and we each have to build our own style. It's like when I was teaching Why List with Me. Well, I think how you organize your listing presentation is very important. And what I tried to emphasize is making it simpler and more emotional and less complicated and analytic, right? So my point of view is that people hire us because of their emotional trust in us and connection rather than all of the other analytic items, right? So a lot of people put a lot of time into their listing presentation, their pre-listing package, and a lot of what I call analytic complicated stuff. And to me, the heart of it really comes down to more personal. So that's what I've learned, over the years. Many people have said, Dave, what is I've thought about writing a book. What's your secret to me of writing a book? Oh, I can tell people kind of my strategy and my secrets, if you want to call them that, in about 15 minutes. But, that's not the way everyone works. People who are real professional writers, like, Stephen King and Michael Crichton and all these people that turn out book after book. I mean, for them, it's a daily discipline. They're up at 5 or 6 writing and they go until noon or 1. They have a discipline of that. And I would say that's probably true also of people in real estate, the ones that succeed. They have a discipline to the early part of their day. But I think we're all trying to figure out that game. And I was just trying to share the wisdom that I've gained over the years, both myself and then observing people like Mo and Gary and other high achievers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Lorraine. Anybody else? Anybody else? Just a comment or a question or an aha?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay.
Marina, how are you?
Good, and you? So what you're using today is that kind of like the same thing that you've used like when you first started, or did it evolve?
Well, I think it evolved. I know that when I got kind of hooked on the page at a glance. I'm trying to think. There was a name for the time management system. It was looking at every day, and then it would have a month at the beginning of this little folder, and you would keep notes at the bottom of that.
Yeah, my husband
it's a
has
pretty
one.
Yeah, it's a pretty classic daytimer. That was what it was called.
Daytimer. Yep, that's what it is. Yeah.
Daytimer.
Yeah.
So I used that for several years in my early executive time with Century 21. And then I moved more to the month at a glance because I tended to see my time in bigger chunks, and I wanted to prepare for it in bigger chunks as opposed to just diving into the appointments for the day, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I've always kept a lot of notes from meetings and from brainstorming sessions. And of course, I didn't write books before, but I did develop courses before, or I would develop a speech I was going to give at a annual convention, something like that. And I tended to do those on a yellow pad. And my problem with that was the pages would get lost, right? I mean, I would do the yellow pad and I would stick them in a folder and that, but there was no place I could easily go back to, right? And so it was 25 years ago when I started with Gary Keller that he said, Dave, I think a spiral notebook is the finest way to keep track of your thinking, your ideas, your information, and to be able to go search for it. And I adopted it. And I mean, I still use it, even though I'm in my encore years, right? I'm not fully employed with a job responsibility. I'm kind of playing at the game of teaching and life and being an adjunct to two different companies, Master Networks and Keller Williams. And I just kind of, so I'm in a more playful time of my life and less under the pressure demand that you are in your business. But that's how it's evolved. I'd say that's how it's evolved.
Okay.
But I think the thing that triggered it for me in the biggest way was this idea of simply writing down your goals on a regular basis of some kind, whether it's annual, monthly, or whatever, that you actually write down and say, what do I want to achieve this month or this week? Even or in the next few years. That was what really triggered my writing down that I wanted to become a regional director. And then 3 years later, really almost miraculously, I was, and then became a divisional president. And I remember in 1992, I was divisional president of Century 21, and I was doing my annual goal setting for myself. And for some reason, here's the goal I wrote down: to become a leading executive of the real estate company that takes the industry into the new millennium. Now, isn't that weird? Why would I write that down? Why? I mean, I could have written down Century 21, right? I could become the lead, but no, I didn't. And it was because my intuition was telling me it wasn't Century 21. And my intuition may have known it was Keller Williams because I had just become aware of them and was very impressed, but I didn't write that down, right? And yet that's what happened. I became, a key leader in the company that led the real estate industry into the new millennium and now dominates it. So what I would say to you is, and I had a good friend of mine who liked to write their goals down more like a story. Here's what it will look like. I envision that 5 years from today, I will be running this company and there will be this many people in it and it will be doing this much business. And I envision myself being, a competitive mountain biker and, riding in races and I'm writing things down that are relevant to me. But the point is that, that sometimes it's good to just let that's why that green light thinking is good. Let your intuition be free enough to put down a goal that maybe you wouldn't have thought of analytically. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. No, thank you, Corinne. How we doing, Lauren?
I think we're good. I think this is a great class.
Good. Well, so again, anyone on here that would like a copy of all those slides and would like my 10 best books on goal setting and achievement, and that Gary Keller chapter on why become a high achiever that is so good for, it's really good for anyone. It's good for an adult. But it's really good for teenagers and young adults. Then just send me your 3 ahas, dave@kw.com. And then, Lauren, our next session with everybody is?
June 8th, 10 a.m.
June 8th at 10 a.m., Gaining Financial Independence. So it's kind of a summary. I mean, it's a conclusion to these 5 classes that we've had. And it really is a great one on achieving financial independence. And then we're going to come back on, is it the 15th?
The 15th, yes, Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Yep, 15th of June, to do a reprise or a redo on Why List With Me so that Lauren can get it recorded. And by the way, feel free to go back and listen. Lauren has the links to all those other ones that I've done. If you want to go back and listen to those, they're really valuable to listen to again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shoot me a message and I'll get them over to you. We got some love coming your way in the chat from Colleen and Mike. Appreciate your clarity. You're so wonderful. All the good stuff, of course. But we really
thank you. No, I appreciate the good stuff. And if somebody just wants to send me a good stuff email, that's okay too. But I appreciate that. Love working with you. I just want everyone here to know that my being here for these 5 sessions has been because of the commitment of Eric and Lauren and your leadership to bring you world-class training. And so they have made this possible. And be sure you understand that it's part of their commitment to you. Yeah.
Absolutely. We try
Take
that
care,
every day.
everybody.
All
Okay,
right, take care.
bye-bye.